Today's Ask Tom Spatial topic is maps and spatial databases, how to use them. And basically we wanted here to give you a full broad overview of the landscape of all the spatial and mapping technologies that we offer in Oracle platforms. And this session will really equip you just with the broad view of things. And then in later sessions, we'll be drilling down deeper into specific topics, with more tutorials and demos and things. Our speaker today will be my colleague Shiva Ravada. For those of you in the community, you know that he's one of the gods of spatial technologies in the Oracle ecosystem, and he manages the development team for our Oracle Spatial Technologies. He's one of the founders of these technologies and has really overseen the evolution to the full spatial and location analytics platform that it is today. So without further ado, Shiva, welcome.
Thank you, Jean. So as Jean mentioned, this will be the first in a series of presentations that we will do on spatial technology. This will be very broad, and then we'll cover all of the different aspects of spatial and location technology from Oracle. So we started doing spatial in Oracle about 20 years, more than 20 years ago. Our main goal was to make spatial part of the main IT infrastructure, so that way anybody who uses an Oracle database will be able to take advantage of the spatial technology in the database and then be able to build location analytics and geographic information systems and those type of things without resorting to some specialized software for building maps and location technology. So the whole idea is to allow these spatial solutions, and then that can be built on top of the basic database technology, so that we don't have to worry about third-party software. And then also at the same time, extend all of the database features like scalability, security, load balancing, all of these standard things that come with the database, also to the location data and the location technology. And also, we also support different programming models. So typically, if you look at GIS type of applications, they have very specific programming interfaces. Because we are building this technology on top of the database platform, any application framework that you use to write a database application can now be used to build spatial applications as well. So that means if you're a Java developer, we have APIs that can be used to build Java applications that take advantage of the location technology. We have connectors for Python, we have extensions for Node.js, and we also provide a lot of web services out of the box. So if you're a basic web service web developer, then you can build applications using the APIs that we provide. One of our strategies is also to enable spatial technology across all of the Oracle data platforms that we have. So we originally started with the database. Oracle database introduced spatial in the 7.3.2 timeframe, release 7.3.2, and then now we are in 19C. And then also at the same time, all of the Oracle database cloud services include spatial technology. So that means all of the enterprise edition, high performance, enterprise edition, extreme performance, and also all of the autonomous database offerings, including the ADW and ATPS and ATP dedicated. All of the database cloud platforms offer spatial technology as part of that. And we also, 5 years ago, we also started adding functionality into the big data platform. So as part of that, we have a product called Oracle Big Data Spatial and Graph. This is basically adding spatial capabilities into the MapReduce and Apache Spark framework. So if you're basically a big data developer, then you can take advantage of this product to build spatial applications on that platform. Again, if you look at the breadth of the features on the big data platform, it's mainly to cater to some specific types of applications that are suitable for big data platform. So we are not taking all of the features that we have on the database platform and porting everything to the big data platform, because the applications are different and the target applications and target customers are different. So they have different sets of features. So there's a little bit of overlap, but typically a lot of the customers use big data platform to do pre-processing and large amounts of machine-generated data processing, and more analytics and transaction type of oriented data loads are done on the database platform. So before we get into the actual breadth of the spatial, we also recently made a licensing change. Until December last year, spatial and graph used to be a priced option. So now it's no longer a priced option starting from December 5th last year. So this was done to some other options as well, like advanced analytics option. And one of the drivers is to make all of the developer APIs that are provided by Oracle Database free of charge. So we want to encourage all of the developers to be able to take advantage of these APIs. So this means Enterprise Edition, SE2, and all of the cloud database offerings will have spatial, including XE as well. So, but this is not really available on SE1. SE1, there is a lower price, lower feature model called a locator that has a subset of the spatial features. But all of the spatial features will be available as part of Enterprise Edition, SE2, and all of the cloud database offering. So this way you might see some references to locator in the literature. Locator is basically a subset of the spatial features that are more commonly used for simple business mapping type of applications. From day one, when we built the spatial features into the database, we made them open and interoperable. That means because we are a platform technology, we wanted to bring in as many partners as possible so that they can build applications on top of the technology that we provide. So the philosophy is very similar to what we do, what we used to do in the relational space. We used to have PeopleSoft, SAP, and all of these different types of applications that build on top of Oracle Database. Similarly, we have several of these partners that we worked with. They all build applications on top of the core technology that we provide on top of the database. So originally, when we started building spatial technology on top of the database, it was geared mainly for GIS applications, so geospatial information system type of applications. So that means if you're a land management application, then you can do land planning type of things using the core technology that we provide in the database. If you're building 3D city models, then you can do those type of things on top of the technology that we provide. Or if you're a transportation management company and then you manage transportation networks like bus networks, trains, and things like that, they can also build spatial applications on top of the technology that we provide. So to that end, we provide a lot of different data types in the database, and we provide a lot of PL/SQL and other APIs on top of that. And over the last 10 years, we started adding more capabilities to cater to the location-enabled business applications. So the idea here is if you have a business applications, they tend to have addresses, right? If you have address, then that is the location information. So we can take that location information and then create very easy to build web mapping applications. So simple things like if you want to create a thematic map to show your customer distribution, or if you want to create a citizens portal where people can log in and then report incidents, or if you're a CRM type of an application and you want to understand how your customers are segmented, and then you want to visually look at the data on a map, you can do those kind of things. So all of these simple business application type of use cases are also now supported with Oracle technology. So the difference here is, in this case, you're using the database technology and also using mapping technology. And we provide all of the pieces required for building an application like this. So storage and analytics at the database level, and then mapping and other capabilities in a mid-tier level. So what that means is, if you look at the big picture for Oracle Spatial, we have a lot of data types and analytics capability in the database. So that is the lower half of the diagram with the database, and then different types of data around it. So point data, lines, polygons, those are the basic data types that are used for representing different features in the space. So points can be your customer locations, and lines can be your transportation network, and then polygons can be your sales regions or administrative regions. And then on top of that, we build additional schema-based and more application-oriented technology. For example, we have this thing called network data model. Using the network data model, somebody can very easily build a network tracing application or a network routing application. And we also have something called location tracking and geofencing in the database. That means if you want to monitor things and then see how they live and enter your regions of interest, and you can track those moving objects, you can do that on top of the database. And we also have some specialized data types. So for example, raster is the one such specialized data type. So in this case, you can manage satellite imagery or airborne photography in the database and then do analytics on top of that. So I'll go a little bit more detail in some of these topics. But the basic idea is at the database level, we have several different data types, and then SQL APIs and PL SQL APIs and analytics built into the database to work with those data types. In addition to that, we have a different layer where we provide J2EE applications. So you can take any of these applications and then deploy them into WebLogic server. And then that will give you an end-to-end two-tier architecture where you can build web applications. So the first component in that is a mapping component. So this mapping component allows you to take the data out of the database and then produce maps. And the geocoding is an application where you can take customer addresses and then turn them into lat-long points. So if the address, let's say address is 400 Oracle Parkway, using the geocoding component, you can turn that into a lat-long. And once you have a latitude, longitude for that location, then you can do spatial analytics on top of that. And the routing engine component provides street network routing from point A to point B type of applications. And then we also provide a whole set of web services. There is an organization called Open Geospatial Consortium. They define web service interfaces, standards-based web services interfaces for different application domains. And then we provide many of those standard web service interfaces using this module. And we also have a module called Studio. So this is a self-service web application design tool. So typically when you write web mapping applications, when you develop web mapping applications, you have to use either JavaScript or Java code to build those applications. Studio is a self-service tool where you can build very complex web mapping applications without writing any code. So it's all UI oriented with menus and options so that you can build simple to complex applications without writing any code. So again, we'll go into the details of all of those topics. So now let's start.
Just a quick interrupt. There was a quick question on the Q&A. A participant asked whether address geocoding is possible directly from the database or is Spatial Studio necessary for geocoding?
Yeah, okay. So if you use Spatial Studio, then it makes it very easy to do. And then we also provide all of the services necessary behind to provide the address geocoding. You can also do this at the database level, but if you do it on top of the database directly, then you would have to get reference data. Reference data is usually provided by data vendors. So you have to buy the reference data, load that reference data into the database, and then we provide PL SQL APIs on top that can be used for address geocoding. But if you are using Studio, we basically provide all of the infrastructure required for geocoding as a backend service that you can use it for free if you're using Studio.
Thanks, Shiva.
Yeah. So let's start from the bottom layer. So at the database level, we provide, as I mentioned, several different data types. So all that means is just like you store any relational data, you can store any of the spatial data in the database. And so a simple example is you have customers, and then you also have some hurricane is coming in. So you're an insurance company, you have a bunch of policy holders, you have addresses for those policyholders. So you geocoded them, you have a geometry for the policyholder. Now there is a hurricane is coming now. Now we have the hurricane path defined. Now we want to be able to identify all of the policyholders who are potentially in that hurricane path. So then you can just do a simple SQL query in the database. So in this example, this query is called a within distance query that lets you identify all of the customers who are within a radius of 10 miles from the hurricane path. It's a simple query like that. So, and then you can do more complex queries like this, but the main point is you can just write SQL to do spatial analytics like this. So for people who are interested, if you want to dig down a little bit more, all we are doing is taking this geometry data and storing that in the same table that typically is used to store your application data. So for example, if I have a table called countries, then I have other attributes for the country, like the country name and ISO code and things like that. And I also have the geometry for the country defined as a sequence of longitude and latitude values. All we are doing is taking those values and putting them in a type called SDO geometry. And then once you have that in the table, then you can do spatial queries on top of that. So just a couple more examples of this. Again, now I want to take a point of interest. So maybe I get a latitude and longitude from a cell phone signal. Now I want to identify which polygon is inside that region of interest. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is working from home perils. Okay, so now I'm taking that point and then I'm trying to identify where that point is. So these polygons here in this example is a set of countries, but it may as well be sales regions that you defined. So when you get a cell phone location, then if you want to identify where that cell phone location is, and you want to identify the sales region that contains the cell phone location. So you can do those type of queries using simple SQL queries. And similarly, you have all of the sales regions that you're defining. So sales regions can be defined by taking a bunch of existing postal codes and combining some postal codes into different sales regions. And then you can do analytics to see which sales regions are inside a country. And then you can do aggregations, like you can calculate the revenue for all of these sales regions and then aggregate them up to state level and country level and things like that. Again, all of those complex spatial analytics can be done through SQL. So when we started, basically the geometry was stored in the database like that. So in starting 12.2, there is also support for JSON in the database. Now with the proliferation of all of these web applications, a lot of the times these web applications exchange spatial data using a format called GeoJSON. So GeoJSON is a standard format that is used to define spatial data, the sequence of these latitude and longitude values, the defined shapes. So if you're primarily working with this type of JSON data, you can store the JSON data as it is in Oracle JSON. And then we have spatial analytics support on top of that storage as well. So you don't have to change the storage from JSON to SDO geometry. You can keep the data as JSON, but we enable all of the spatial functionality on top of that JSON storage. So as I mentioned, we've been doing this thing for over 20 years. So in this time frame, we have added hundreds of spatial operators and functions. So we started from some very basic things like identifying things which are inside another polygon and things like that. And then over the years now we have developed a lot of general purpose to very specialized data types and APIs as well. So for example, raster data type is a very specialized data type, but you can do very complex raster applications in the database using the APIs that we provide. So we have a ton of PL SQL APIs and Java APIs like that. And then once you go beyond the database level, we also have this spatial analysis built into a lot of these Oracle applications and tools. So if you look at Oracle tools like SQL Developer, so within SQL Developer, there is this basic mapping component. So you can click on a row that has a geometry, and then you will be able to look at the shape of the geometry. So if you just want to do some quick check, you can do that. But it doesn't really do a lot of spatial analytics, but because it's a DBA tool, you can do very quick checks on the data using the tool, using the spatial support in SQL Developer. And if you look at more complex applications like Oracle Analytics Cloud Server, Cloud Service, OAC, and then the traditional OBIE, they have much more complex spatial analytics built into their system. Again, we provide all of the spatial capability and the mapping capability that is built into these mapping tools, built into these applications and tools. And also we have 70 plus Oracle applications that use the technology that we provide. So if you look at an application like Oracle Transportation Management, they provide transportation logistics applications, and all of the spatial technology that they require all comes from the Oracle spatial technology that we provide. So if you look at so based on the previous example, there are different components there. Right? One is the database component that can do spatial analytics, and the second part is the mapping component that can take the data content from the database and then produce maps out of it. So we provide a web map server and a bunch of APIs on top of that to build these web mapping applications. So the component is called Oracle Map Visualization Component. It's basically a J2E based application that can take the data that is stored in the database and then natively produce maps out of it. Okay. So, so this map visualization component has two distinct parts to it. One is a JavaScript API, which is called HTML5 based JavaScript API. So you can take, so this is, if you're familiar with any of the JavaScript APIs like Leaflet or Google Maps API or any of those JavaScript APIs, this is very similar. You can take this JavaScript API and then use the Oracle map visualization component in the database and then build very complex web mapping applications. So as you can see in the picture, we show some examples of complex maps that you can do mashups. Okay. And then one of the advantages of using this API is if you have the data stored in Oracle database, spatial data stored in Oracle database, then with a very limited amount of code, you can produce very complex web mapping applications. So this web mapping applications has different parts to it. So we provide we provide a map authoring tool. The map authoring tool lets you define how a map will look like. So if you have your content in the database, for example, you might have all your customer data in the database. When you put the customer data on the map, then you need to be able to define what symbology to use and what labels to use on those maps. Right? So all of that thing can be done using this web map authoring tool. And we also provide a web-based administration tool that will let you administer and manage the map visualization piece that is running in WebLogic server. And then on top of that is the HTML5 API that lets you define the actual web map application and then also define the interactions that go with the application. And then let's look at some of the other advanced data types that we have in the database. As I mentioned, GeoRaster is one of those data types. So raster typically means satellite imagery data, but it can also be used for storing data collected from low-flying aircraft and other sensors. So in the database, all we do is take this data and then store it in a bunch of Oracle tables. And then we have an efficient storage mechanism that lets you store very large amounts of data as a seamless image. So for example, if you take satellite imagery for all of the United States, that can go up to 400, 500 gigabytes of data. So we can store all of the data in the database as a single object. But if you want to do analysis on a particular location, then you can very quickly access the pixels related to that area of interest. So we provide all of the indexing mechanism and everything required to be able to access the data very quickly. And then on top of that, we also provide a bunch of analytics. So one example is this precision farming example. So in precision farming, what they do is you take the satellite imagery for crops. And then by analyzing the satellite imagery for the crops, you can understand which parts of the farm is getting enough fertilizer, or which parts of the farm need more watering and things like that. All of this is done by analyzing the data. So if you just look at the picture, it's a RGB picture that looks like a image, but the satellite images also have some other sensor data that lets you understand and analyze the nature of the farm. So by analyzing these other sensor data, you can understand whether things are growing as they're expected to grow or not. Again, to do that kind of analysis using the pixel data, you need a lot of sophisticated algorithms. And then we built all of those algorithms into the database itself. So now just using PL SQL APIs, you can do this type of analysis. So in this example, like a precision farming example, you can build a complex application like this using the PL SQL APIs that we provide. So you don't need to use some third-party software to analyze the images and understand all of these things, because we provide everything at the PL SQL level. And then the other specialized data type we provide is spatial networks, so, which is also called a network data model in our features. So network data model is basically a data model to store road networks. So these are basically stored as graphs as a node and edge model, but these are typically used for storing road networks or utility networks and things like that, that have spatial context. The network has the spatial context. And then once you store this data in the database, we have this middle-tier component that can do network analysis on top of that. So simple examples are, if you want to identify from a given point, if you're let's say you're a Pizza Hut, and you want to identify how many customers can I reach within half an hour driving distance, or how many customers I can reach within a 1 hour driving distance. So when you do that, in that case, you actually, the distance is not calculated as the crow flies distance, but the distance is calculated on the road network. So if you have your road network stored in the database, then you can do this type of analysis that use the actual network distance, the distance as you walk or as you drive, and then create polygons for it for drive time analysis. Or you can also use the same component to build an application that does routing from point A to point B. So for example, if you're a logistics company and you want to do drive time distance from one point to another point, you can use this component for doing that. And then we have mechanisms to support very large networks. So if you're a global company and you want to do this thing for the whole world, you can do, even at that scale, the whole world road network data in the database, and then do this network analytics on top of that. So the network data model is a very general purpose toolbox that can be used for building different types of network applications. And we also have this specialized component called a routing application. So this routing application is exactly like the Google Maps routing that you see. Basically has a bunch of XML APIs that lets you just ask for directions and ask for shortest path from point A to point B and things like that. Okay. So the network data model itself is a toolbox that has more features. For example, if you want to customize your own path to say that today I want to go from point A to point B, but I want to avoid a certain street because I know there is going to be some event there. So if you want to do those customized constraints, then you can build those applications using the network data model. Routing is basically one application that we built on top of the network data model, but routing is like a standard vanilla routing. It doesn't let you do any constraints or any other things like that. And then geocoder is, again, we already talked about this thing. So geocoder, you can store the reference data in the database, and then we support several different profiles for all of the different countries, because different countries have different types of address formats. So we understand all of those different address formats. And then we have a bunch of XML APIs that can be used through the middle tier component. And we also have PL SQL APIs that can be used from the database directly. So if you're using this thing directly from the database, then as I mentioned before, you would need data from some of these commercial data providers like Here and TomTom, or you can even take the OpenStreetMap and then push it into the database, and then you can get the geocoding running on top of that. But if you're using Studio, then Studio provides you a service that lets you do the geocoding without without you building all of this infrastructure and the data required for geocoding. So on top of that, we also have these more complex spatial types, like 3D types. So recently, with all of these sensors, there is something called point cloud. So point clouds generate billions and billions of points to construct scenes outside. So for example, you can take a 3D city modeling application, and you can just run these sensors through a city, and then you can, from that collected data, you can build 3D models for buildings. So this is an example of a city model that look like for a 3D city planning application. So all of this data is collected using point cloud data, and then from those point clouds, people can extract building footprints and then building facades and the textures and the rooftops. All of those things are extracted, and you can build a 3D planning application. So in this application, basically you can look at the city as it exists, and then if you want to build or construct a new building at a particular location, you can do what if type of scenarios using the technology that we provide. Okay. And then the other big component that we have is called the Spatial Studio. So as I mentioned, the Spatial Studio, the goal of the Spatial Studio is to make it self-service a spatial analytics tool. That means people who are not familiar with any programming interfaces, or people who are not familiar with spatial analytics, they will be able to use this application and build complex spatial applications. So the idea is to make the map building very fast and easy, and then no code environment for developing spatial analytics and application. That means if you want to do some spatial analysis, you don't need to understand how to write SQL queries. So some of those SQL queries I showed in the initially. So you don't need to really understand how to write those queries. So we provide a bunch of drag and drop tools. You can pick these things and then build your query visually. And then under the covers, we generate the SQL that is required for doing that analytics. And then we also provide this map canvas where you can drop your data sets and then build complex interacting applications. The Spatial Studio basically has data that is stored in the database, and then a self-service drag and drop application that runs in WebLogic server. So some of the basic features of the studio are, we have these components called data. So data can be any table that has the spatial content in the database, or you can also pull in external data sources like spreadsheets that have addresses, or JSON files or GeoJSON files that have geometry in them. And also shapefiles. Shapefiles is a proprietary format that's a very well-known format that is used for exchanging spatial data. So we have all of these data components, and then we can take data that is that doesn't have geometry, like addresses in a spreadsheet, and then we can automatically geocode them and then add spatial content to it. And then through Studio, you can create spatial indexes, and you can also take the data out of the database and export them and exchange them as GeoJSON or CSV. From a developer's point of view, we provide we provide a lot of analysis through Visual Builder, so you don't really have to write SQL, but you can see the SQL that gets generated when you build something through the visual interfaces that we provide. And then you can define an analysis, and then you can publish that analysis as a data set, and then those can be accessed using REST endpoints. Okay, and then you also have this concept of projects where you can bring in different data sets and then make a project. And then you can share the project with other people so that they can see the map or whatever you created. And for our administrators, we also provide a console and then administrative console with UI, so that you can do the basic web application management, like defining different proxies or setting up file system privileges and things like that. So this is an example of what a spatial analysis will look like. So for example, if you want to return shapes that interact with each other, then you can just click on this thing, and that will walk you through a dialog, and then you fill in the required details. You can say what are the data sets to use, and everything will be guided for you. So you don't have to write any code. You just to walk through these bunch of screens and then drag whatever analysis that you want to do, And then in the end, when you finish it, it will generate the SQL that is required for doing that SQL analysis. Okay. Okay, so that's basically the first half of the presentation, where we just give you a very high-level overview of all of the different data types and different types of capabilities that we have in the database. And then one of the things a lot of people ask is, what about performance? Do we get, if you're moving from a proprietary GIS software, how do you manage that performance expectation when you do this in a database? So we have a lot of customers that have that manage very large amounts of data, and since we apply all of the database benefits to these fundamental data management challenges, performance is number one priority for us. And then we have very large customers that have very high performance systems built on top of the products, on top of the capability that we provide. Since we are using the database, you pretty much have no scalability boundaries. You can extend the database as much as you want. You can have terabytes to petabytes of data. And then you can do all of these things to get very realistic response times. Okay. Because we are doing everything in the database, all of the spatial operations, you can run them in parallel, and everything can be partition enabled as well. So that way scalability is not a problem. And then we have large customers that do this millions of operations in minutes. So a lot of points in polygonal operations and polygon to polygon analysis. And again, if you're doing data from sensors, if you want to identify things that collected from sensors and then do a lot of point in polygon operations or distance operations, all of those things can be done at the scale, at a very high scale in the database. Okay. And also at the same time, we can load massive amounts of data into spatial database very quickly. So we have large numbers of customers who load billions of points and petabytes of data in a few hours into Exadata systems to do this data management. So we take care of the performance, and then what about all of the APIs that we provide? So as we mentioned, since we are part of the database, PL/SQL and the SQL are the primary APIs that we provide, and a lot of analytic capabilities provided using those APIs. We also integrated with the CX Oracle driver for Python. So if you're fundamentally a Python developer, so you can take advantage of all of the spatial analytics that we have in the database through the CX Oracle driver. And then through ARDS, all of these spatial capabilities are also REST enabled. So if you're an ARDS developer, you use ARDS primarily for doing REST APIs, then you can also do spatial analytics through that. And we have also integrated with Node.js, the Oracle driver for Node.js. Again, if you are primarily a Node.js developer, then you can use the Oracle driver for Node.js to build spatial applications. So we also have a very rich Java API. If you're fundamentally a Java developer, then through this Java API, you can build mid-tier Java applications or standalone Java applications. So in this Java API, we provide a lot of the capability, a lot of the fundamental capability that is in the database directly natively in the Java API. So that way, you don't have to make a round trip to the database if you want to do some calculations in the Java side itself. And then if you have very large amounts of data that you want to manage on the Java side, there is also a client-side spatial index or tree index. So you can use that to index the data in memory in the Java application and then do spatial queries on top of that. But typically, people use a mix of client-side spatial processing for small amounts of data. But if you want to do at scale, then you push the operations to the database and then do them on the database side. And we also provide a lot of web services. As I mentioned, there is a standards-based body that defines these web services. So these are typically used for publishing data, spatial data on the web. So web feature service data is fundamentally for publishing vector data on the web. So for vector data means if you have a bunch of administrative regions, and then if you want to exchange the data with clients, then you can publish the data through web feature server. Web mapping server is again similar to the web mapping components like Google Maps and other things, Bing Maps and things like that. So if you want to publish your data as a web map server, then you can use this WMS to do that. If you have raster data in the database and if you want to publish that through the web, then there is a standard for that called web coverage server. So similarly, they define a whole bunch of server standards, and we provide so a lot of these things out of the box. Okay. And then finally, the last topic is spatial support on Hadoop and Spark. So now that location is used in a lot of these devices, a lot of large amounts of data is now being generated through these devices. So GPS, cell phone data is one basic example, but if you use any of these fitness devices, for example, when you go for a run, then it generates a bunch of data. So all of these devices are generating data, and then if you want to analyze the data, typically the data is too large to directly push into the database. So in those cases, a lot of the data is processed on the big data platforms. So some of the applications that are done on the big data are geotagging in the context of spatial or partial reference. I'll give you an example of that in the next slide. But basically, you want to be able to take the data as it comes off these devices and quickly do some spatial analytics and understand the data, and then do some online discovery of some trends and things like that. And then once you identify important parts of the data, then you can isolate the data that you're interested in. Then you can push that into the database to do more analytics on the database side. So these are some of the use cases. So when you have data coming in, large amounts of data, you want to do quick preparation of the data, identify quick trends, you can do that on the data, on the big data system. And again, you want to do quick visualization of the data to understand how the data is clustered or how the data is spread around among the regions of interest. Right? So, and then I actually want to give you an example of what features that we have in this platform. So we have different features. So one is for preparation of validation and cleansing of spatial and raster data. So we provide a bunch of APIs that can be used to enable these type of analysis in a MapReduce framework. So you don't have to really write all of the spatial analytics into the MapReduce framework. You can use the APIs that we provide. And then using that, you can enable any of these type of workflows in a MapReduce framework or in the Apache Spark framework. And we provide a lot of basic point in Polygon and type of APIs that can be used for writing categorization applications or filtering based applications and things like that. So data harmonization is a typical example of an application done on this platform. So data harmonization is when people are talking about a location, and then you want to identify if all of them are talking about the same spatial entity or not. For example, somebody might be saying something about Golden Gate. Somebody might be saying about the same thing using the address. And somebody might be saying about this, talking about the same location using a lat long GPS value, right? So if you're doing this type of analysis in the database, databases typically work well if you have some reference key that ties all of them together. But when you're looking at this data in a big data platform, all of them are talking about the same spatial entity, but there is no single unifying key across these things. So we provide a bunch of APIs and reference data to be able to take data that is coming in like this and then correlate that to the reference data sets and other things that we have, and then create a key that can be used to associate all of them together. So this is just one example of data harmonization. There are a lot of other data harmonization examples that people have used this big data platform for. Okay, so just wanted to end a little bit early so that we have time for some questions. So that is basically a very high level overview of all of the different spatial capabilities that we provide in the database and also in mid-tier. So if you look at a typical spatial application that has a database and one of these web mapping web components that we provide that are deployed in a WebLogic server. And then that's the typical spatial application architecture that is used. But we also have a lot of customers that do directly just using PL SQL APIs and just using SQL analytics. And in the next coming few months, we are going to dive deep into some of these areas that I mentioned today, and then talk a little bit more in depth about those specific topics.
Okay, great. Thanks, Shiva. So I know you've described this presentation as 20 years of development in less than 40 minutes. So that's a great broad overview. And our audience, you guys have been great in terms of asking your questions on the Q&A and keeping Dan and David and my colleagues busy there. So I think there's a broad range of questions about a lot of the capabilities that you've talked about. So Dan, if you'd like to unmute yourself as well to supplement some of the answers on the Q&A, are there any specific questions that you'd like to highlight, Dan, that may be of interest to most people, or any of the other Oracle folks on the panel? Feel free to chime in. So I see that I think all the questions that I see have some helpful answers that Dan and David and Jim have provided. But yeah, Dan, is there any elaboration or any points that you want to highlight?
I think Shiva did a good job supplementing some of the answers that I provided. I mean, some people asked, are there customer examples, use cases? So as I mentioned in my response, this is technology that's used by Oracle customers across many industries all over the world. And even more now that spatial is included as a no-cost feature of the database, it's something that basically everybody should use. It's available to everybody. And one of the things I noted also is a very important initialization parameter. It's called spatial vector acceleration. It was introduced in 12c, and since spatial was a licensed option previously, the default for that parameter was false. In 20c, when it becomes available, that parameter will automatically be set to true for everybody. But in the meantime, if you're not sure, I would check your database, because it should be set true for everybody. So it's a good thing to check, just to make sure that that parameter, spatial vector acceleration, in your database is set to true. Everyone can benefit.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Dan. And we definitely are planning on having Dan present on an Ask Tom in the future, focused on issues like performance, scalability, best practices, how to get the best performance out of your spatial database. So keep an eye out for that. So and it's great to see the interest. I mean, I think I see a lot of questions about where can I start getting data to use with Spatial Studio and Spatial? And I think Dan and David and some of the community members addressed, there are some public domain data sets that are available. I think there's a small sample data set from here that's included with that, just to get started with administrative boundaries and things like that. But basically most customers gain value out of spatially enabling your existing Oracle business data, and by using the geocoding engine, or having it in GeoJSON format, and a lot of the alternatives that Shiva described.
Yeah, I could just add to that a little bit. Yeah, we do have mechanisms to ingest data, very common formats like shapefile formats. And there's ways to do that through Spatial Studio. We have other utilities that ship with the database that can also, loaders and OGR to OGR, which is an open source component of VDAL, which also ships with Oracle as an ETL tool. We've got partners like Safe Software who have an ETL tool, FME, Feature Manipulation Engine, that can ingest many, many formats into Oracle Spatial and Graph to leverage the functionality natively offered by Oracle.
Yeah, great, thanks. So, and then Shiva, if you also want to right now, just take a look at the questions and answers.
Yeah, so there is one question. There's one question about GeoJSON and ARTS. Yes, ARTS basically doesn't really understand our GeoJSON, but ARTS understands JSON. So within the database, we actually support two different types of JSON. One is GeoJSON, and there's also a native JSON that is not necessarily GeoJSON, but the JSON that ARTS understands. But through ARTS, there is a way to also directly work with GeoJSON, because in the database, we provide conversions to GeoJSON and from GeoJSON. So if you want to get GeoJSON out through ARTS, then you have to use the PL SQL API that we have in the database, and then do the conversion at the PL SQL level, and then just push it to ARTS. So David Lapp actually has some examples of that in one of his presentations. Similarly, if you want to push GeoJSON into the database, you can do the same thing. But if you want to specific examples, then please contact us offline, then we can give you on how to, we can show you how to do that.
Okay, great. It's time. So just great discussion online and on the call. Just to wrap up, we did want to point you to resources where you can kind of delve into on your own into some of the features that sparked your interest today. There was one question on the chat about tutorials. So we'd like to just point out about halfway down the page, we actually have a live SQL tutorial that David Lapp on our team built. And this is a way just to use the live SQL environment through a web browser without having to spin up your own database instances to run spatial queries, go from 0 to being a full spatial user in just 5 minutes in an environment where 19C database is set up for you. So just for newbies, I really recommend taking a look at that one. And just, explore our videos. We have tutorials and customer videos on the YouTube channel on the third link. FYI, these slides will be made available in about a day or two after the session. So you'll have that as reference to look at. And Shiva, if we could move to the next slide.
And also one more thing, if you go to Oracle Marketplace, you can find Studio on Oracle Marketplace. So if you want to play with the Studio, that'll be a good place to start.
Yeah. Thanks for the reminder on that.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in on that because you can use the cloud marketplace with the free tier. So you can really get started with it at no cost. Just go to Oracle Cloud Marketplace and deploy it on the free tier.
Awesome. Okay, great. And Shiva, if we could go forward. Great. So thank you again, everyone, for attending. This was a fantastic session, and we look forward to seeing you guys again as we drill down into many of these feature areas. We had so many topics that encompass the spatial technologies, as you can see, that we welcome your input on what topics would you like to see us drill down into more. And again, the subsequent sessions will be much more demo, core code, example oriented to really help you jumpstart your development efforts. So at the landing page, feel free to send us your feedback. Our next session will be on May 21st, and it'll be about the Oracle Maps JavaScript API. It's the versatile HTML5 based tool for building maps, either with data in the database or from external services that Shiva referred to. And again, also the recording of today's session will be posted at the Ask Tom landing page as well. So we're just at the hour. I think we may have had some last minute questions here, but we are out of time. We'll capture the questions that were submitted and try to get back to folks individually if we didn't have a chance to answer in depth on this session. So with that, Shiva and Jim, any final words before we wrap up today?
Stay home, stay well.
Good advice. Okay, great. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great evening, afternoon, or morning as your time zone dictates. Thanks a lot, everybody.